Why avoidants feel regret only after you stop hoping isn't because they suddenly became enlightened. It's because hope was doing something in the dynamic that you didn't fully see while you were inside it. Your hope made you predictable. Your hope made you patient. Your hope made you available, even when they were inconsistent. Your hope translated their distance into they're overwhelmed, their silence into they need space, their mixed signals into they care but they're scared. And that hope wasn't stupid. It was love trying to survive uncertainty. But to an avoidant system, your hope often functions like a cushion. It softens the consequences of their emotional distance. It tells them, without words, that they can keep their comfort and still keep you close. So they don't feel the loss while you're still hoping. They feel the loss when your hope shuts off. Because that's when the cushion disappears. That's when the relationship stops being held together by your patience. And suddenly, the avoidant has to face something they were avoiding the entire time. Impact. This is why the regret comes late. Avoidant regret is rarely an immediate emotional movie scene. It's delayed processing. It's the nervous system's slow realization that the safety of your presence is gone. It's the moment they reach for the old version of you, the version that would still be there, still be soft, still be willing to talk. And they realize that version isn't reachable anymore. And that moment can hit them like panic. Not because they suddenly learned how to love, but because their attachment system finally registers the separation as real. Avoidant attachment is built around control through distance. Not always consciously, but the pattern is consistent. Closeness activates discomfort, so they create space. Space calms them. Then the threat feels gone, and they can feel love again. That's why they can be warm after distance and cold after intimacy. They don't experience love as a steady state. They experience love in waves, often strongest when you are slightly out of reach. So when you were hoping, you were still in reach. Even if you weren't getting what you needed, your energy was still oriented toward them. You were still emotionally on call. You were still interpreting their behavior with generosity. You were still leaving the door open. And an avoidant system can relax when it knows the door is open. They don't have to confront the cost of their avoidance because you're still there, making it survivable. Now, here's the brutal clarity. For many avoidants, remorse and regret are not triggered by your pain. They are triggered by your absence. Not because they are heartless, but because pain requires emotional presence to process, and avoidants protect themselves from emotional presence by distancing. Your tears can feel like pressure. Your questions can feel like demand. Your vulnerability can feel like responsibility. And responsibility can feel like suffocation. So instead of leaning in, they lean out. They minimize. They delay. They shut down. They tell themselves it's not that serious. They tell themselves you'll be fine. They tell themselves you're overreacting. It's defensive logic. It keeps them from feeling guilt. It keeps them from feeling shame. It keeps them from feeling the truth. I'm hurting someone who loves me. But when you stop hoping, the dynamic changes. You stop offering them emotional access without accountability. You stop trying to explain. You stop asking. You stop chasing clarity. You stop waiting for the version of them that shows up only when it's convenient. And the moment you stop hoping is the moment the avoidant loses the most powerful thing you were giving them. The reassurance that they could stay the same and still keep you. That is when regret begins. But it's important to understand what kind of regret this is, so you don't confuse it with transformation. Avoidant regret often comes in stages. First, it comes as irritation. They notice you're different, and it annoys them. You're less responsive, less emotionally available, less eager, less invested. And instead of immediately feeling, "I miss them," they might feel, "Why are they acting like this?" Because avoidants are used to being the one who controls distance. When you pull back, it flips the power dynamic. They feel destabilized. Then, regret can come as curiosity. They start checking your signals. They start wondering what happened. They might send a casual message, something small, something that tests access without requiring vulnerability. And if you respond the way you used to, the regret fades, because the system calms again. But if you don't respond, or you respond differently, the next stage begins. Anxiety. They start feeling the loss as real. Their mind begins replaying. They start remembering moments they dismissed. They start hearing your words differently. Not because they suddenly have empathy, but because the threat of losing access turns on their attachment system. And then, finally, regret can arrive. True regret. Not always, but sometimes. A quiet, heavy awareness. They were good to me, and I didn't protect it. The reason it takes them so long is that avoidants process emotion through distance. They can't fully feel what they did while you are still present, because your presence activates their defenses. It's only when you are gone, or when your hope is gone, that the defenses lower enough for emotion to come through. That's why they can suddenly miss you after weeks, months, sometimes years. That's why they can suddenly reach out when you've already healed. Because your absence gave them space to feel. And space is where they finally find their feelings. The problem is that space is also where they feel safe. And feeling safe is not the same as being capable. They might miss you and still not be able to show up. They might regret losing you and still repeat the same pattern with you if you return. So the real question isn't, will they regret it? The real question is, what do you do when they do? Because avoidant regret can be seductive. It can look like a soft message, a late apology, a moment of vulnerability, a confession. And if you've been starving for recognition, that moment can feel like closure. It can feel like victory. It can feel like the proof you were waiting for. But proof is not safety. A moment of regret is not a new relationship. It is a feeling. And feelings come and go. Patterns are what you live in. So if you're listening because you've stopped hoping and you can feel them circling back, here is the calm, brutal clarity you need. Their regret is not your responsibility to heal. Their regret is not your cue to resume the role of emotional translator. Their regret does not automatically mean you should reopen the door. If they truly regret it in a way that matters, it will show up as sustained emotional responsibility, not as a message, not as nostalgia, not as a sudden spike of attention. Real change looks like consistency without you having to beg. It looks like repair without you having to teach. It looks like accountability without you having to present evidence. It looks like someone who can stay present even when it's uncomfortable. That's rare. And that's why you can't let regret alone be your compass. Now, the most important part of this title is you. You stop hoping, and something inside you shifts. Because hope, in these dynamics, often becomes a quiet form of self-abandonment. You keep believing. You keep waiting. You keep making space for them at the cost of making space for yourself. You keep pausing your life emotionally. You keep living in the maybe. And the avoidant can feel that. They can feel that you're still emotionally available, even if you're hurt. Hope is a signal. It signals that you're still there. When you stop hoping, you stop signaling availability. You stop giving them the comfort of knowing you'll return. And that's why they feel it. They don't just lose you, they lose the old arrangement. The arrangement where you carried the uncertainty and they carried the control. The arrangement where they could come close and pull away and you would stay emotionally open. The arrangement where your love was infinite and their effort was optional. When you stop hoping, you end the arrangement. That's why the regret is late. Because while you were hoping, the arrangement was still intact. Here's a sentence that can close the loop. They didn't feel it while you were hoping because your hope protected them from consequences. The moment you stop hoping is the moment they finally have to feel the emptiness their pattern created. And emptiness is what an avoidant can't ignore forever. They can distract themselves. They can rationalize. They can move on. But emptiness has a way of returning at night, in silence, in moments of stillness. And when it returns, it often carries your name. So if you're in that stage where your hope is fading, don't panic. Don't interpret the numbness as failure. Don't interpret your detachment as losing your heart. Detachment is often your nervous system choosing safety for the first time. It's your inner self saying, I can't keep living in uncertainty. And when you honor that, you reclaim your power. And the irony is that this reclaimed power is often what triggers their regret. Not because you manipulated them, but because you finally stopped feeding the dynamic. That is the truth. And here's the final, most stabilizing clarity. You don't need their regret to validate your worth. You don't need their regret to prove you mattered. You already know you mattered because you know what you gave. You know the patience you had. You know the depth you offered. You know how long you stayed tender. The only reason you crave their regret is because you want your reality confirmed. But your reality does not require their confirmation. Their regret is about them. Your healing is about you. And the moment you stop hoping, whether they regret it or not, you are finally free. Welcome to Attachment Alchemy Lab. You're safe here.